We all know why we're here. It's time for some tier lists, and CLEFABLE just came out. Some, bug boys got some pretty nice buffs recently, so there's a lot of stuff to check out. And yeah, we're here to rank some stuff. We're here to do some tier list things, and if you got something to say about where I put a certain Pokemon, please let me know why you think something should be higher or lower in the comments down yonder. Leave a like, subscribe, do all that sort of fun YouTuber stuff. What's up? I'm JB. How's it going? And yeah, we're gonna do some CLEFABLE / SCIZOR Scyther rework / other thing tier lists. Yeah, this is basically SCIZOR's release too, let's be real, so kind of want to mention that a little bit. But yeah, let's go ahead and go over the tiers real quick. We have the one above all, which is going to be basically our god tier. We have the Stan Lee tier, which is going to be our S tier. We have the Avengers. We have another Marvel reference. I couldn't think of something to put in between the Avengers and Thanos, but yeah, it's like an A- / B+ tier. Those things that aren't quite on A but are better than stuff in B. Speaking of, we have Thanos, which is perfectly balanced as all things should be. I always do that, so I just decided to lean into the Marvel thing. So yeah, that's basically the B tier. We have the don't tier. We're kind of just skipping a C tier because I don't really think there's that much of a difference between like the B tier and like the C tier. So why split the difference when you could just have just straight up don't play these Pokemon tier? And then we have the Pokemon that need a buff. So what we're going to use the need a buff tier for is the Pokemon that I think need a buff the most. They aren't necessarily worse than the Pokemon I'm going to put in the don't tier, but they're close, and they're the Pokemon that like the tier says I think could use a buff more than anything else. So let's go ahead and start off with attackers, shall we? We have Alolan Ninetales first off, and if I had to put Alolan Ninetales somewhere between Thanos and A- B+, I'm gonna cautiously put it just in Thanos, which is just a straight up B tier for now, with potential to move up to A- B+ range. But yeah, I think it's a pretty solid character. You get a lot of crowd control with your freezes, good burst damage with your Unite move. Other than that, like, there are better lane mages, there are better lane characters overall, but it's definitely not a bad choice, just not the first choice I'd make. So I think B tier is a pretty fine place for it. And before we get any further, I don't know why I always say this before I place this character, I'm going to be basing this mostly on solo, duo, trio play rather than competitive 5 stacks, because I don't really play 5 stacks all too often, but I do play a lot of solo, a lot of duo, mostly duo queue, a little bit trio queue thrown in there as well when we have a third. But yeah, that's what I know the best, so that's what we're mostly going to be sticking to. So yeah, that's what we got there. Moving on, we got ourselves a Cinderace. Make sure I'm not skipping any attackers. I was really good at that last time I did one of these. Cinderace, I want to put Cinderace solidly in the A tier. I think it's still one of the best solo queue uncoordinated play carries in the game. It's not quite the best jungler in the game because a certain ghost exists, and there are other characters that can rival its damage output to some extent, but a good Cinderace is still just as good as any character in the game. Does a lot of damage, pumps out just crazy amounts of damage with his auto attacks, has good mobility, good Unite move. Nothing bad about the character, just some things are slightly more broken at the moment, right? That makes sense. Cram's actually pretty rough right now. The cooldown emblem nerfs have actually caught up to it quite a bit. It's still a better jungler, but I don't know. It's probably better as a jungler than it is a laner, because blue buff is probably really good on it. So it's just there are a million characters you'd rather have in the jungle than Cram at the moment. But it's still a very strong character, pretty solid Unite move, all things considered. Like, it's just a very solid Pokemon. It's borderline for me. I do think it's slightly better than A9, but I don't really rank them within the tiers against each other. So yeah, like, I'm not saying Ninetales is better than Cramorant because I had Ninetales, I had a Cramorant. They're just in the same tier. I'm not gonna go through and rank all the tiers. There's 6, way too long. But yeah, dude, I'm a big fan of Cram. I don't think it's great on this map. I don't think it's as good as other characters are in lane, and there are better junglers than it. So I just think it's definitely still good, but not as good as it has been. The Decidueye, I'll bump the Decidueye up to A- B+. I've been seeing it constantly this season, and I'm not really sure why. I couldn't tell you why. I'm not complaining. I love the Decidueye. It's probably my favorite character to play in the game, just in terms of fun factor. But it's it's just fine. It gets deleted by a lot of stuff in the meta and gets hard countered, but a good Decidueye can actually put in a lot of work. I've never been stomped harder than when I duo queued into a 5 stack and they were running triple support with Azumarill and the Decidueye. I have never been stomped harder in my life. We surrendered at 5 minutes and the Decidueye had 122,000 damage. Granted, I should never ever have duo queued into a 5 stack, let alone a TTV 5 stack, sweating that fucking hard, but it happened, and it's gross. That's not going to be a thing that happens every game, but it's definitely a thing that you could do to climb ranks, I guess. Triple support, ADC, all-arounder. It was disgusting. I've never been stomped harder in my entire life. Yeah, it was gross, and they weren't even live, by the way, doing that. It was disgusting. But yeah, just a little tangent there. But yeah, the Decidueye is actually pretty solid. Obviously it has, you know, great secure, just really good damage output overall, decent unite move. Like it's a solid like middle tier slash, I guess technically higher tier Pokemon. Next up we got ourselves Delphox. I'm gonna stick to this. I think Delphox is one of the best characters in the game right now. If it weren't for Gengar being absolutely broken and Mew also being what it is, I think Delphox would be right there as 1A, 1B, the best character in the game. I think it's like probably, if you ask me to rank them, top 5 or 6, 7 character in somewhere in that range. I think it's phenomenal. You put out so much damage with this character, constantly unite moving, have a lot of mobility with Flame Charge, Fire Spin's still good. You just get constant resets. I think it's better in jungle than it is in lane, but it's an amazing laner as well. So if you do want to play, you know, jungle with the Gengar or something like that, like it's a phenomenal character. It has an amazing kit, amazing mobility. Everything about the character is great. I love Delphox. I'm not backing down from it being S tier. I think it's amazing. I think it's super slept on by the general wide community, but those in the know about how good Delphox is, yes, it's great. Is it good in 5 stacks? No. Solo, duo, trio, one of the absolute best characters in the game. Speaking of underrated AF Pokemon, we have Duraludon. Duraludon's actually pretty damn underrated, pretty damn slept on. It's, again, another character that just has really strong auto attacks and just constantly pumping out consistent damage. I think Flash Cannon is a bit of a meme, but it can put out decent damage. I think Dragon Pulse is still really, really good. Yeah, solid unite move if you can get it off. Just all in all, just a character that pumps out a ton of damage. Pretty decent in lane these days too, but again, it can jungle and jungle pretty damn well. Espeon. I think it's quite literally the exact same character as Ninetales, except for Frieza that has stuns. Like, it's okay, decent unite move, decent little pop of damage. It's more about, you know, stunning people with its unite move, whereas, you know, Ninetales is the burst. But yeah, I mean, it's fine. Get a lot of stuns with your Side Shock. Future Sight's okay. No, Sword Power is okay. Like, Future Sight's really, really good. Side Beam's decent. Like, I don't know. It's a fine character. I just think they're better. Gardevoir. It's actually borderline B tier for me or Thanos tier for me. It's really close. I'm gonna put it B, and the justification is that I think it's borderline throwing in lane unless you can get your experience early. But there are so many better junglers than Gardevoir that I can't really justify putting it that high. Like, I would rather have everything above it in jungle than in Gardevoir. I would rather have Cram in jungle than Gardevoir. Actually, yeah, about where Cram is about where I cut it off. But yeah, it's a really good character, but it's just, I think a lot of characters are better than it. It's incredibly weak early in lane, but once you do get your power spike, if you can get your power spike early, you're incredibly strong. You do fall off a little bit, but if you have great stuns, you still have the most broken move in the game, Moonblast. But I don't know, that's kind of all the character is right now, is Moonblast. Like, it does pump out really solid, consistent damage. It's just you're pretty damn useless for half of the game if you're not in jungle. And I'd rather have a Delphox or a Cinderace or any number of all-arounders or other characters. Speaking of characters I'd rather have in the jungle, we have Glaceon. Now, I'm gonna put Glaceon in A tier. I think it's still incredibly strong. The problem is, like, it's not as good of a jungler as it used to be because it has to rely on running both Energy Amp and Shell Bell now to have constant Icy Winds. But that just makes it a pretty damn decent laner, and Icy Wind is still decent if you don't have it up full time. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention freaking Icicle Spirit is still really, really good. So yeah, character's great, good unite move, one of the most annoying passives in the game. It's just, yeah, it's a damn menace, and no one likes playing it. It's pretty, or playing against it rather. It's pretty good. Like some Glaceon. Greninja, I'm also going to put in A tier for pretty much the exact same reason as Cinderace. I think it's a little bit more consistent than the Decidueye in terms of damage output, so that's why I give it the little bit of a nudge above it. Yeah, all in all though, good damage output, really solid, strong character. I just think there are slightly better junglers and just slightly better characters overall. I think this character is hard throwing in lane, but why do I know? I get lane Greninjas every other game I play. Mew, it's fundamentally the most broken Pokemon they've ever released. It's a character you can't catch. I mean, fuck it, I'm just gonna spoil it. It's like I said, it is the fundamentally most broken character of all time. It has just stupidly strong attack at level 1. You cannot catch it with agility. You can't get near it. It'll just ult out. It just runs, has the best mobility in the game, has the best escape tools in the game, constantly resetting its cooldowns, doing ridiculous damage with its boosted auto attacks. It's too good. It is too good. This character is just broken on every level. I hate it, and I still cannot believe a patch went by without this character getting nerfed. It's just on a whole other level of broken. I'm still baffled that this character did not get nerfed. All right, Pikachu. Pikachu I'll put in other Marvel reference, A-, B+. I think it's pretty solid. I think it's really strong against a lot of characters that are kind of menaces right now. Like, I think a Volt Tackle is very good, ironically, against Mew, pretty good against a Delphox, very good against this character, very good against this character. Decent at, you know, just slowing down some all-arounders, just catching some stuff out. Like, Volt Tackle's just really good, and you're spamming your Unite move. I think Pikachu just provides a lot of value, although it does get just completely taken out of the game by any sort of, you know, real damage. Like, you have to be very careful when playing Pikachu, but I do think it can provide a lot of value to the team if played well. All right, next up we got Sylveon. I think Sylveon also is pretty solidly in the A- B+ range, basically just because of Hyper Voice. Hyper Voice is really, really strong, very good. Yeah, Hyper Voice is great. It's basically just the only thing this character has at the moment. Calm Mind's good, Journey Kiss is okay, Mystical Fire is a meme, but I guess it's playable. Borderline terrible Unite move, which had one of the worst comments I've ever received on my Unite move tier list, if you want to go laugh at that. Who tried to compare Mew and Sylveon Unites as if they're even remotely comparable. Sorry, that's a little bit of a tangent, but that was and I don't care to get called out, clown. That was a horrible take. Yeah, Sylveon, it's I mean, it's solid. Hyper Voice is really strong. That's basically all I have to say about the character. And then Venusaur, I'm still sticking to this. Like, a lot of people just put Venusaur like really low, and I don't understand why. I think Venusaur is very solid. I think it's one of the better things you can pocket as an all-arounder. I think pocketing a Venusaur with like a CLEFABLE or Mr. Mime is incredibly good. It's just, it does take a little while to get going, and it is pretty weak to opposing stuns, but if you know, have a little bit of backup, that's all you really need, and you're popping off and doing a lot of damage. Solar Beam's really good. It's Unite Booster really solid. I think it's just a fine, really good character. Let's move on to speedsters. We got Absol. How about Absol A? Absol is just really strong. Absol is just really, really, really good. It's just a fundamentally strong character on every level. Really good lane bully early game. Good, you know, just damage throughout the game. It does fall off slightly late game, but a good Absol could just outplay that. Good Absol has like positioning to mitigate the fact that it's not bursting as hard as it did early game. Really good Invader, good Unite move. Just, yeah, it's just an all-around really solid Pokemon. As is Dodrio. Dodrio is honestly borderline S tier for me, especially in uncoordinated play. You could just mess a team up. I am very tempted to put Dodrio S tier, believe it or not. Like, we were so wrong about this character early. And it's really turned on its head. Like, it's a very, very strong character. And like I said, borderline S tier. Does have a pretty underwhelming Unite move, but Tri-Attack Agility is so good. Jump Kick is actually pretty decent as well, I think. Dual Pack, it's the aiming thing mostly, and it's a little bit too all in, especially when Tri-Attack is as strong as it is, especially when paired with Agility. I think Dodrio is phenomenal, and the more I talk about it, the more I think I can justify putting it S tier in context of solo duo trio uncoordinated play. And it also has been seeing a pretty damn decent amount of tournament play. I believe Toon rocked it in a tournament and won with it. Like, I mean, this character's insane. Nah, I can't put it quite S tier though. It's like at the very top of the A tier. It's really, really good. And the reason I'm not putting it S tier, yeah, no, screw it. We're putting it S tier. It's my tier list. I think Dodrio is an S tier character right now. It's very strong. We got Gengar next. Gengar's just, it's stupidly powerful. We don't really need to talk about this one, do we? It's Hex spam is broken. Dream Eater build is broken against squishy teams. Like, you play Hex against bulkier teams. Really good Unite move. Just the best jungler in the game right now, in my opinion. Too damn good. And the reason I can justify going back to Dodrio a little bit once I'm missing the jungle is it's a character that you can jungle with, but it's also very, very, very strong in lane. So that's the justification for actually leaving Dodrio and S tier. You can play it either or. Whereas Gengar, it's okay in lane, but like I said, it's the best jungler in the game, bar none. It's ridiculously good and very strong. Yeah, Gengar's obscene. It's borderline one above all, but Mew's just more broken in my opinion. Gengar's like 2 though. All right. Talonflame, this is my hottest take. Character's garbage. I don't think it's that bad, but I do think it's a definite B tier character. I don't think it's anywhere near Dodrio. I don't think it's anywhere near other speedsters. I think the character is just played wrong at a fundamental level. I keep saying that word, but 90% of Talonflames that I get on my teams, and this is verifiable on my Unite API if you want to go look it up, It's just my YouTube name with YT at the end if you want to go Unite API me. Every single Talonflame I get on my team does not know how to play the game. I keep going over this in tier lists, but until it changes, it's true. The character is completely overrated and played wrong by 90% of the player base. But the 10% who do play Talonflame correctly, you know, joining team fights when they need to, only scoring when it's viable, and not just ignoring every team fight to try to backcap 12 points and using goal getters when 4 people are dead. Those are the Talonflames I get on my team 90% of the time. But the 10% of Talonflames, like I said, who do know what they're doing, probably bump the character up, you know, to like here or here. But like I said, just such a vast majority of the player base has no clue what they're doing on the character. I cannot justify putting it that high. And also, I don't think the backcapping thing is really all that valuable, especially when a lot of characters can get away with it. Talon can get away with it better than some, but a lot of characters have really good mobility. So I don't know. I think Talonflame is completely overrated. And thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Next up, we got Zera. Zera's borderline B for me. It's a character that it's decent in lane, but it just takes such a long time to get going. The reason they didn't give it its moves at 5 and 7 when they reverted its Unite move back was because the character would just be ridiculously strong. At least that was the thought if it got its moves at 5 and 7. But I think enough time has gone by where I don't think Zera Aura would be overpowered if it got its moves at 5 and 7. But I think it's time to at least test that out and see how broken it would be, because it's a very strong character once it does get discharged. So like I think if it were like 5-7, I could see it being, I could also see it being completely overpowered. But as it stands right now, it's just a really decent character. Good Unite move. It's a pretty damn solid mid game character. Like it's okay early, pretty weak late, but mid game it's actually pretty damn solid. So we'll put him in the A- B+ range. Let's do defenders next. Blastoise. I think A- B+ is where it fits the best. It's borderline A for me, but I don't know, man. It's yeah. With the early game buffs, I'm gonna give it A. I think there are only a couple defenders I'll give A. I think 3, but I think Blastoise deserves it. It's a really strong early game now with the buffs to Water Gun, giving it just a pretty damn decent secure, pretty damn good secure. Skull Bash is good for mobility. Both Surf, Hydro Pump, and Water Spout Rapid Spin are playable, so that's one of the best Unite moves in the game, which you get more often now. I'll talk myself into it more. Yeah, definitely an easy A tier defender in my opinion. And yeah, the reason being, you can get away with really any playstyle, good in either lane. Can probably still jungle with it, although it doesn't do enough damage to really justify that. Like, Blastoise is good. Blastoise is really solid. Crustle, I think it's a firmly in the B tier range character. Problems with Crustle, it's not Greedent. That's really the main problem with it. Its Unite move is honestly better than it is as a character. Like if you go watch my Unite move tier list, I think I had its Unite move in A tier, where we're gonna have Crustle the character like as a whole in B. Just because like it's not all its Unite move. Like it does have good secure, it does have good crowd control with Shell Smash, but you're not really providing a whole lot to your team. It's a very solo, like selfish kind of play style, which can be really good. Like you can absolutely carry a ton of games with Crustle. It's just you're having to do that on your own a lot to really get a lot of value out of it. Like you can do a lot in team fights as well. Like Crustle's a pretty damn good character, but I just think they're better defenders. I realize that's kind of my argument every time I get to that, but oh well, it's fine. Deal with it. I'm bad at words and I don't script these. All right, Greedent, easily A tier, borderline S tier in my opinion. It's still one of the most annoying characters to play against. Probably the best invader in the game still. Borderline, it's up there, really strong. Just super annoying, great at stacking, does a lot of damage with the Covet Belch build. Stuffed Cheeks Bullet Seed, pretty good for securing, pretty good for stealing, just all around annoying, just nothing bad about the character. It's a great kit top to bottom. And yeah, it's Greedent. I hate it. I am a notorious Greedent hater and I will stand by it, but it is a very good character. And last defender I think I'm gonna put in A tier is actually no, we're gonna have 4 defenders in A tier I think, because Mamoswine is unbelievable. Mamoswine is so good on this map. It hasn't had changes in God knows how long, but it's just really good here, dude. I don't know what it is. I talked about it in my Mamoswine video that went on a couple days ago. Like it is just very good in fights. You provide so much value to your team with freezes, with your high horsepowers, with your icicle crashes, ice wings, whichever one you choose to run, with the Unite move changes, it went from having like one of the, if not the absolute worst Unite move, to a pretty usable one. Like it just provides so much value to a team. Really, really strong early game, just very tanky late game. Like Mammoth Spine's great. I love it. And it's just weird because it hasn't had any changes, but it's just so much better than it used to be. Maybe it's placebo, maybe it's Maybelline. Who knows? Slowbro, I'm gonna put in A-B+ range. It's fine. The problem with Slowbro is a lot of the stuff that's meta and a lot of the stuff above it doesn't really care about stuff Slowbro likes to do. Like Surf is pretty good against some characters, like, you know, specifically the bird, but you know, Scald's good too. Like a lot of the stuff doesn't really care about Scald. A lot of stuff is just so ranged in the meta that it kind of invalidates Slowbro a little bit. But if you get good matchups, like it's still a pretty damn good character. Snorlax, if you're new around here, I have a very negative opinion on this character overall. But I do see its value. I think it's way, way better than this in 5 stacks. Like you can talk me into putting it up here, you know, in like competitive coordinated play. But in solo duo trio, I think this character is a borderline liability. And reasons being, block is the only good thing it provides. Otherwise, it's just a damage sponge for the enemies. Horrible Unite move. Heavy Slam's only okay. Flail Yawn is a damn meme. Like I said, the only thing this character provides is block. And a lot of the times block is useful. You're already losing because you're pushing people off of goals. You're defending against the Regieleki push. It can be good to push a Regieleki. That is the one good thing it provides when you're winning. Other than that, it's just whatever. You might crowd control someone long enough for a carry to pay attention to you. Hopefully they pay attention to you. That's part of the character. Like if people ignore you, then what's the point? So yeah, it's fine. It's good. It's probably better than I'm, you know, saying, but my experiences with the character, it's a damn liability. All right, and then Trevenant, I'm also going to give A tier because it does all the things Snorlax does in terms of, you know, just sustainability and annoying teammates with block, except it actually lives and actually does damage. It doesn't, you know, block Regieleki and doesn't block people off of goals. It doesn't push like that, but it provides all the same sort of stuff in fights, but does it better. So that's my justification for putting it above Snorlax. I also think it's just completely unkillable, a sustained monster, has one of the best Unite moves in the game. Love Trevenant. So yeah, like I said, I have a very negative opinion on Snorlax. Come at me if you will. I'll stand by it. Don't care. A to slash. Easy A tier in my opinion, even though I apparently don't know how to use Wide Guard. I'm gonna keep, you know, just making references to dumb shit and it's just funny. I don't care. Yeah, big fan of AG. It's incredibly strong. Its boosted autos are great. Wide Guard, Sacred Sword, one of the best builds in the game. Shadow Claw's okay. Iron Head still kind of sucks, but it's decent. Yeah, top to bottom, great character. You just kind of have to know what you're doing. Love AG. Azumarill, man, I really want to put this character S tier. I really, really do. I'm gonna do it, man. I still think Azumarill is just so good. I think it's so good. Getting a level 4 evolution is insane. You do so much damage with this character. It's ridiculous. It's truly phenomenal. I love Azumarill a lot. Pumps out a ton of damage. Good enough Unite move. Decent, you know, secure. All of its moves are really good right now. I think it's in an amazing place. And yeah, dude, I might be a little too high on Azu, but it's my tier list. Deal with it. Buzzwole, I think it's still B tier. I like Buzzwole a lot, but everything above it is range. Like the problem with Buzzwole is range. Like it loses to Mew, it loses to Delphox just on matchup. It loses to Gengar a lot of the times on matchup. It can't get close to something like a Blastoise if you push it off. It doesn't really like dealing with something like a Mr. Mime. Like it's good if you can, you know, jump on a squishy and delete it with Leech Life. Problem is a lot of squishies won't let you. A lot of stuff has better mobility than you. Like it's fine. It's just I don't know, man. It's pretty rough. All right, Charizard, I'm bumping you down from S tier to A tier. So this thing's Unite move got extremely nerfed, and Clefable also hard counters his Pokemon in a lot of ways. Like, bro, Gravity completely invalidates Charizard's Unite move. You can't even auto attack. You can't move in Gravity. It's ridiculous. I don't know if that's a bug. I don't think it is, because man, did they mess this thing's Unite move up. Serena can now Unite move a Charizard. Anything, like you're no longer unstoppable in your Unite. You just have hindrance resistance, which means stuff can actually stun you and counter you. Like Serena can literally grab you. Slowbro's always been able to grab you, but yeah, that's a thing now. I'm pretty sure you can get like you know, just pushed by like a confusion, frozen now. Like it's incredibly counterable and not as good as it used to be. Yeah, characters in a rough spot. Dragonite. Dragonite's a tough one because it's borderline B tier for me. I just think the character is just a little too strong for that. Maybe. I don't know, man. I'm gonna put Dragonite B. I'm gonna put Dragonite B, and it's not a bad, you know, it's a B tier. Like, it's not bad. I think there's like one bad character in the game. Spoiler alert. I mean, I'll just throw him there. I think there's one bad character in the game, and it's my favorite character in the game. But besides the point, Dragonite's not like great, dude. It lost a lot of value in Hyper Beam not being as good because objectives aren't as valuable. Like, bottom Reggie is not as valuable as Dreadnought. Rayquaza isn't as valuable as Zapdos, so it lost a lot of value in that. And also, again, it just gets outranged by a lot of the meta and blown up by a lot of the meta. Like, it's not as bulky as other all-arounders. It doesn't have as good defensive tools as something like an Aegislash. It doesn't have as much damage as something like an Azumarill. It doesn't have a Unite move like Charizard. So you can see where the other all-arounders stack up against it. I think it's very comparable to Buzzwole, where it just gets ruined by stuns, it gets ruined by range, it gets ruined by crowd control. So yeah, and it's, you know, the best thing about it, Hyper Beam isn't as valuable as it used to be, and Outrage is a goddamn meme. Outrage is bad. It's one of the worst builds in the entire game, because if you're gonna play Outrage Dragonite, this is another, you know, opinion I have, and I've said multiple times, if you're gonna play Outrage Dragonite, just play Aegislash, just play Azumarill, just play Mamoswine, play Trevenant. All those builds do the exact same thing Outrage does, and you don't get fucking stunned by your own move. Outrage is dog shit. All right. Garchomp, we already talked about it. It's just bad. I love it. I love it a lot. It's one of my favorite characters in the game, if not my absolute favorite character in the game to play. It's just bad. It's just really bad. do something for my boy. Give it some CC resistance. Give it some crits back. I don't know. Give it something. Just buff Garchomp, please. Rework it entirely. I don't know what you do to fix Garchomp, but make it better. Okay. Lucario. It's kind of coming back a little bit, but it's starting to come back a little bit. I'm gonna put it A. Extreme Speed's really strong. Power Up Punch is good. It's Lucario. We don't need to talk about it too much. Machamp's kind of borderline for me. Machamp's pretty solid, but it's not the best, I don't think. It's somewhere between here and here, obviously. You know what? It's been compared to Lucario for so long for these last few patches. I'm going to keep it in A. Still has a lot of mobility with all of its builds. Crit builds are pretty damn strong. Close combat's still decent. Pretty good Unite move. Again, it's just pretty weak to stuns, but it has a little bit more workarounds than some other characters. So put it in the A tier. Next up, we got SCIZOR and Scyther basically on their releases. I'm going to do Scyther first because I think I have a pretty hot take on SCIZOR. I'm gonna put Scyther in the A tier. I think it's firmly a pretty damn good Pokemon. It got some massive buffs. I just don't think its playstyle is quite as good as SCIZOR's, which is really, really weird. It's more of a jungler than a laner, obviously. It's more of a speedster than an all-arounder, but it's very strong. Does a lot of damage. I'm just not as nearly as good at Scyther as I am at SCIZOR, which is why I have never made a Scyther video. I suck at the character, but I can play the hell out of some SCIZOR. But yeah, I mean, it's got a better Unite move than SCIZOR. It's, you know, got a lot more burst potential than SCIZOR. But yeah, I mean, it's fine. It's just, you know, it's what it is. And then SCIZOR is honestly borderline S tier after these changes. I really, really, really think so. It's very borderline just because it's so brawly, so tanky in fights. It got so much like buffed to its bulk. Like its HP and defense has got massive buffs. And Bullet Punch actually does damage now, so it's borderline S for me. It really, really is, and I just don't quite think I can justify it. Just because it was so bad before, I think we need to see a little bit more out of it. This could be my worst take of the video because I do generally think the character is insane now. I want to see more out of it for a little bit longer, which is why I make the tier list so soon. That's I want views, idiot. At least I'm honest. Yeah, I think it's really, really good. It's really, really good, but I don't know if I can justify Esther. I just don't know. It's very close. It's very, very close. All right. Next up, we got Serena. Easy A tier. again, another borderline S tier character. It and SCIZOR are actually very comparable in their playstyles. They're very divey, very sustain heavy all-arounders who just like to jump into fights, do a ton of damage, and just not die. They're very similar Pokemon in that regard in terms of playstyle. Serena just has a better Unite move, so I think they're both borderline S tier characters that I'm just going to leave in A for now because I don't want to overload the S tier. Or do I? Or do I? Because, yeah, I'll do it. Why not? This is my tier list. This is the one that might come back to bite me the most is Scyther being A tier compared to SCIZOR. Whatever, dude. Scyther's really good too, but I think SCIZOR's just insane. Whatever, I'm doing it. Fuck it. All right, and then T-Tar. I think T-Tar's firmly an A tier character. I think it's a character that needs jungle to be successful. It's just there are a lot better junglers, but if you are playing T-Tar, you're incredibly strong. T-Tar's a great character. Nothing at all wrong with it. I just think it's a little bit experience hungry and throwing in lane, and that I'd rather have a couple of characters ahead of it in jungle, because even in jungle you do sometimes not get level 9 before first Reggie, which is a little bit rough and definitely can be a bit of a detriment sometimes, but still an incredibly strong character. All right, Blissey. We'll do Blissey first. Obviously we're saving Clef for last. We're gonna go ahead and put Blissey A tier. It's an amazing character that you know, just provides a ton of healing, ton of team support, great Unite move, hasn't changed on a lot of patches, still very good. Borderline S tier, does not have a bad thing about its kit. It's phenomenal. Hoopa. I lied, there are two characters in the don't tier. Hoopa sucks. Why play Hoopa when you can play any other support right now? Base healing got nerfed, so its hold is worse. Objectives aren't as valuable, so your whole to and from lanes isn't as good. Trick is fine, but Blissey has a better trick. Hell, Eldegoss has a borderline better trick. Mr. Mime has a better trick with Power Swap. CLEFABLE has a better trick with Moonlight. Like, Eldegoss is, like I said, even borderline better. Wigglytuff, I mean, yeah, everything about Hoopa is just underwhelming right now. Its ult is still good for Ray fight. Its ult will be good sometime when score comp becomes a thing on this map full time. Like, that'll be good. Like, it's still decent for that now. It's just, it's not really a thing. Yeah, it's a little bit rough. All right, Eldegoss, putting it in needs a buff tier. And once again, if you are just skipping around, the needs a buff tier does not necessarily mean it's worse than these two characters. In fact, I think Eldegoss is probably somewhere in this range if you ask me. I just think it needs a buff more than any other character in the game. Just look at every other support and look at Eldegoss. Every other support completely outclasses it. In terms of a character, Eldegoss is, you know, somewhere around here. In terms of the other supports, aside from Hoopa, it is just in a really rough spot. So think about this. Your movement speed tool, your team support, you know, getting your team around the map, your movement tool, Leaf Tornado. Well, you have Safeguard, you have Helping Hand, you have Trick, which is comparable. You have Power Swap. You have Moonlight, which is not really a movement tool, but, you know, better AoE sort of thing. For your shields, for your healing, well, Pollen Puff is just bad because you need your teammates to basically stand in it, and it's harder to hit than fucking Power Swap, which is saying something. Why would you play that for healing when you have Moonlight, Power Swap, or Soft Boiled? You have your Cotton Guard, which is actually really good for preventing burst damage. Like, you prevent one attack. It's basically an AoE Iron Defense from Aegislash. It kind of functions in that way. You just kind of block one little burst of damage with your shield because all the damage goes to the shield. Well, that's fine. It's the best thing about this character's kit. Why would you, prevent a little bit of damage when you could just heal it all off, stun it, or heal it all off? Or stun it and, provide a big shield with your Unite move. I don't know. It's just, Eldegoss needs a little bit of a buff just here and there, and I think it'll be back in prominence, but as it stands right now, it's just a little bit rough. Mime, we don't need to talk about this when it's broken. We don't need to spend time on it. And then we have Wigglytuff, who I'm gonna put in A-B+ range. Get its Unite move a lot more often. Still just a very solid, very annoying character. All around pretty good. It's just, there are a couple of supporters above it. Provides a lot of shields with its Unite move. You can get its Unite move so often now. Sing's really good. Rollout's really fun. Just a pretty good character overall. And then last and certainly not least, we have the new guy. We have CLEFABLE. And I'm gonna put CLEFABLE in A tier. I think it's borderline S in certain comps, but I don't think it's quite an S tier character because it's unbelievably squishy. It is by far the squishiest support, which doesn't really help it. Moonlight is very strong, provides a ton of AoE healing, It's so much healing. Like, and finally the game has another pure healer, which is something we wanted for a long time. Thankfully, Draining Kiss doesn't do a lot of damage, but I do think there are certain times, and call me crazy, it's gutted from what it was on the PTS, but actually still has really good scaling. And I think against certain matchups, like if you walk into the right team preview, it's a lot like Assault Vest. Like, obviously you won't know going in that it's going to be valuable, but if you're in the game, you're like, oh hey, they have 5 melee characters. Oh shoot, every fight in this game is going to be bundled up and close together. You might get some value out of Draining Kiss, although you could probably just still heal more with Moonlight. But I mean, Draining Kiss is probably usable. Its Unite move is fun, you get it a lot. I just think the squishiness of it prevents it from being S tier. I forgot to talk about Gravity. Gravity's absolutely insane, shutting down a lot of characters, and people are like complaining about Gravity being too good. The game needs something like Gravity in it, with the amount of characters that have dashes and the amount of characters that have just movement and mobility to get away from everything. The game needs something like Gravity. It's pretty hard to hit a lot of times unless you are predicting where the enemies are going to be. Like if you're just using Gravity at the start of the fight to try to catch someone in it, you're doing it wrong, because there's like that half to like split second where Gravity's cast time isn't there and people can just walk away from you. Like, you don't use it for people to walk away, you use it as an anti-engagement tool. Like when people jump on you, then you Gravity. So yeah, I don't think it's quite S tier. Provides a lot of healing, but ultimately it's just too squishy to be S tier in my opinion. But I do think it is very good, and ultimately I think it's the best character by far that they've released since with the gyms for the first week thing. Like, I don't think that's really questionable. But yeah, that's how we have it going for this patch. Let me know what you think. Let me know where I'm right, where I'm wrong, and what you agree or disagree with. Yeah, I think this is pretty damn solid. Again, just to reiterate one more time, this does not mean Eldegoss is the worst character in the game. These two are the worst characters in the game. I just think Eldegoss needs the most love. So, with that being said, hope you all enjoy. Catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye-bye!